Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin tweeted that the proposed tobacco and smoking control bill's age limit for the ban on the sale of tobacco and vape products will be adjusted to those born after 2007. The earlier initially suggested limit was people born after 2005. Khairy said this change was made after careful consideration of various views and arguments put forth on the bill during stakeholder engagement sessions. He says that this is to provide the government additional time to develop a more comprehensive implementation plan and enforcement measures along with better community education. In response, British American Tobacco Malaysia said the Ministry of Health's proposed generational smoking ban will only fuel the illicit tobacco market. In a statement, BATMD Nadel Salem said that such a move has never been tested in the real world, lacks any scientific evidence of effectiveness and is likely to be detrimental to the country's health agenda. Salem explains that the illicit tobacco market currently accounts for almost 60% of tobacco sold in Malaysia and will accordingly have negative consequences to public health. He says the MoH should pursue a science-based regulatory framework informed by the positions of countries such as New Zealand and the UK, where vaping is acknowledged as less harmful and a viable alternative. Salim says introducing some of the more balanced tobacco control measures will support smokers switching to less harmful alternatives and should be considered instead of outright prohibition. MAT also called on MoH to include industry players in the overall consultation process in developing appropriate regulations for vapor products. Igm Corp clarified that it has no intention to dispose of its portfolio of highway concession assets to a private not-for-profit entity, Amanat Lebuh Rakyat. However, the group did say that it is in advanced discussions with the government to restructure its toll highway concessions. The company said this in a BOS filing in response to an article by The Edge where, quoting sources, had reported that IGM's management had started talks with Senior Minister for Works, Datuk Sri Fadila Yusof. Besides the West Coast Expressway, where IGM holds a 28.8% stake, the group also owns the Besraya Highway, the New Pantai Expressway and the Lekas Highway. Earlier in June, Gamuda announced that its 4 highway concessions, Kesas Holdings, Sprint, Lingkaran Trans, Kota Holdings or Littrack and Project Smart Holdings, had agreed on and finalised a draft share sale purchase agreement with Amanat Lebuh Rakyat. Under the final draft, the 4 highways were to be sold for 4.47 billion ringgit, with Gamuda's cut coming in at 2.3 billion ringgit. Capital A announced that Asia Malaysia carried a total of 3.85 million passengers in the second quarter, a substantial leap from the 279,654 passengers it carried in the second quarter of 2021. This was driven by the surge in demand for domestic and international flights, signalling that air travel revival is underway. Load factor for international flights achieved 81%, with 31 additional destinations reinstated, and the highest number of international passengers carried post-pandemic, attributed mainly to the Malaysia-Singapore route, followed by Malaysia-Indonesia and Malaysia-India. Capital A's Consolidated Airlines recorded a load factor of 84% during the quarter, akin to its pre-pandemic levels. In total, the airlines carried over 5.6 million passengers, a 633% increase year-on-year and a 48% increase quarter-on-quarter. As such, available seat kilometres rose by 465% year-on-year and revenue passenger kilometres rose by 582% year-on-year. Meanwhile, Capital A's digital businesses, AirAsia Super App's monthly active users stood at 10.6 million in the second quarter, up 236% compared to the same period last year. It said the improvement was primarily due to the strong return of travel and increased user acquisition on the mobile app. Touch 'n Go Group announced that TNG Digital, owner and operator of the Touch 'n Go ewallet, has raised 750 million ringgit from its latest round of equity funding. In a statement, TNG said the funding round was led by a new investment in TNG Digital by Lazada Group and a follow-on investment by TNG Digital's current shareholder and parent company, Touch 'n Go. The group said the new investment by Lazada solidifies the collaboration between key segment leaders, one in e-commerce and the other in digital financial services and payments. TNG CEO Effendi Shalul Hamid says this collaboration will bring next-level value propositions to users and merchant bases across the Lazada and Touch and Go ecosystem. He adds that the funding round also sets TNG up for its next phase of growth, where it will continue to expand in all areas of digital financial services and help to serve its user base in an innovative and inclusive manner. Lazada Malaysia CEO Alan Chan said the group is fully committed to providing a seamless customer journey, as well as being a catalyst to stimulate capacity building among its sellers, primarily local micro, small and medium enterprises. The latest funding round brought the total amount raised by TNG Digital in the last 18 months to over 1 billion ringgit. In addition to Touch and Go and Lazada, other shareholders of TNG Digital include Ant Group, AIA Group and US-based venture fund Bowwave Capital. Indonesia's Presidential Staff Office urged for the placement of workers in Malaysia to be resolved immediately, considering their significant contributions to the stability and development of the country's economy. Bernama quoted expert staff of the Presidential Staff Office, Fajar Dwi Wisnuwardani, as saying that the immediate resolution of the problem will also strengthen the workers' protection and increase the opportunities for its people to work. He elaborates that Malaysia is one of the most important countries for the placement of Indonesian workers, with 1.6 million of them placed in the plantation and manufacturing sectors and as domestic workers, the Antara news agency reports. According to Antara, Bank Indonesia data showed the remittances from Indonesian workers to Indonesia prior to the COVID-19 pandemic were around $3 billion or 40 trillion Indonesian rupiah per year. Indonesia temporarily froze the entry of workers into Malaysia on July 13 when it found that Malaysia was still using channels other than the one-channel system, a breach of the MoU between the two countries. However, Fajar believes that Malaysia still respects the MoU because Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob has instructed the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of Human Resources to resolve the issue.